So we are getting close to the city of Santarem. 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 Santarem derives its name from Saint Iria, or with the fact that Santarem is nowadays the house of one of the oldest Eucharistic miracles of which we have news about. Around the year of 1266 or 1247. I say these 2 years because we have documents referring to 2 different dates, and they refer and they mention exactly the same miracle. This is the reason why historians cannot precise exactly the year when did the miracle took place, but it was for sure in the 13th century, in 1266, or eventually earlier in 1247. There was a couple living here in Santarem. They didn't have at all a happy marriage, and the poor wife was so desperate that in a way of trying to find a solution for her marriage, she decided to consult the opinion of a witch or of a sorceress. Tradition stands that this witch might have promised the woman, obviously, a solution for her wedding, but as a way of payment she wanted a consecrated host. The poor married woman fell into the temptation of listening to what the sorceress told her, and she used to come to attend Mass at her parish church, which used to be the Church of St. Stephen, dedicated to St. Stephen Martyr, and like every morning as she came to Mass, she used to attend Mass exactly in this church. During Mass, well, when it came about time to receive communion, the poor woman stood online to receive communion, but instead of having the host, she took it in her hands and she hid it under a veil that was covering her head. As Mass finished, everybody came out, and immediately the woman could feel like a little drop of blood falling around her neck. And some neighbors came around just to say good morning, just to greet her, and they asked the woman if she was feeling alright, as they could see that some drops of blood were falling from her veil. They asked the woman if she was feeling alright, and she felt so ashamed and scared at the same time that immediately she ran home, and once inside her house, she decided to keep the host still living inside a wood box where she used to keep the clean linens. We're talking about the medieval times, and as you know, people used to have wood boxes where to keep the clothes and the linens, everything. She didn't tell anybody about what she had done, and that same night, while both the woman and her husband were sleeping, they woke up. There was a very sparkling light inside their room. They saw the box opened and the host was still bleeding, and there were like rays of light getting out of it. She had no other chance than telling the husband about what she had done, and that very same morning they both ran back to the parish church to tell the priest about what they had done. Santarem was not at all at the time the big city like it is nowadays. Immediately the news started spreading around, and many people came to the woman's house to see the host still bleeding, including the parish priest who came, and because we were talking about the consecrated host, the parish priest took it in procession in between the home, and many people were following in between the home of the woman and the church of St. Stephen in Santarem. As this was obviously a very, we all know all hosts are obviously special for us, but this one was a little more special than the others. It happened that the parish priest kept it very carefully inside because the host was still bleeding. The host stood bleeding consecutively for 3 days. And because this was a very special host, he kept it in a very little box made out of natural bee wax. In the meantime, many people came from different areas in the outskirts of Santarem. Even other priests, members of religious orders started coming here, and little by little the news started spreading around, and that's when the bishop decided to write a letter to the Holy Father to tell him about what was happening here in the city of Santarem. But a couple of years after, a second miracle took place. At that time, the host was kept inside the little box. The box was kept inside the tabernacle, and many were the ones that came to see the relics of the Eucharistic miracle. And sometime after, as I was saying, a second miracle took place. One day the parish priest opened the tabernacle, and miraculously the host was no longer kept inside his little box, but instead it showed up kept inside the little crystal beaks with the shape of a bear, and instead the little box made out of natural beeswax and still melted with the drops of dried blood were all falling into pieces. And this is the reason why the relics of the Eucharistic miracle that we see nowadays in Santarém are formed by two different things. In one monstrance or reliquary, we are going to see the crystal beaks with the host, and then in a kind of ciborium, we are going to see the little particles, the beeswax, where previously the host was kept. Many centuries passed in the meantime, because you know the story, as I was saying, of the Eucharistic miracle of Santarém took place in the 13th century. In the meantime, many people started coming here on pilgrimage. This church was recognized as a pilgrimage center. Many special favors were granted to this church by different popes and by different documents written by Viola. Francis of Borgia is among the founders of the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits. Before he left to India, as you know, he became known.
Yeah.
How do you say let's go in Portuguese?
At least they said when we went last year, we all got a free
Really? Last year? See, we don't have any streets this narrow back home.
Yours smells good up there.
Weird, I couldn't tell that. I saw one sign that said frozen yogurt. I could tell that because they spell yogurt the same way. But the other stuff, I don't know what it was. I think it was gelato.
It didn't taste like the stuff that we had.
They had more flavor in it. Yeah. They can tell we're tourists. We're getting close.
Martin Luther King, we shall overcome.
Are you having a dream?
We're here.
Just mine first. You came before, didn't you? Yes.
That thou shouldst come to me, speak the words of comfort, my spirit healed shall be, humbly I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love thee. I beg pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, do not love thee. My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love thee. I beg pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love thee. My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love thee. I beg pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love thee. O most Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, I adore thee profoundly. I offer thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ, present in all the tabernacles of the world, in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifference by which he is offended, with the infinite merits of his most sacred heart, and the immaculate heart of Mary. I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. O most holy Trinity, I adore thee, by God, I love thee, O most blessed sacrament. Having the sweetness within it.
May our worship of the sacrament of your body and blood help us to experience the salvation you want for us. Blessed be God.
Blessed be God. Marie, walked it. How narrow it is. Okay, that's good. Okay, you're on. She could almost touch both sides at once. So we've had our visit at Santarem, and now we're on to...
And the candlelight procession. I booked studio to pass their camp at this time of the year, and as I was saying, as we gather inside the Adorations Chapel, you might see people lighting up the candles with lighters or matches. Don't do that. We wait until the priests come into the altar. Each and every one of them are going to be given lighters to light up their candles, but don't do that. we should do it the right thing. We're not walking around with a candle just for decoration. That has a very special purpose. And so we will wait until the priests come into the altar when the clock strikes 9 o'clock.
And burn everything. It's like the way it burns in Eastern Oregon when they have fires. It burns the underbrush down below, and it leaves the trees. And those, there's some of the area that was burned last
And the
year.
Canadians called themselves the
Rocky area.
They're getting up in the hills now. I can see the rocky land. You can tell they pile the rocks up here and there. They must have used to try to farm it or something,
In the valleys like Corval area where nowadays we have Fatima. Very, very poor place. And the economy at the time truly used to work on the stone quarries, extracting the limestone out of it, because in most of the cases the families were really poor. They could not even afford to send their children to school. Since a very early age, the children used to start being very good weavers. So Fatima was indeed a very poor place for all the passports. It doesn't matter if you are in a single, in a double, or in a... I will not only announce it, but I will also write it down, and I will post it in a sheet of paper like this with the name of our town. So anytime you have any doubt, anytime you just want to double check, they are the monument in honor to the walking pilgrim. What you see represented there is a family of pilgrims walking to Fatima, walking from their home on the way to Fatima. There's even a gentleman carrying a little baby boy on his shoulders, as you can see. And together with all the buildings that come by themselves on pilgrimage. So we are approaching the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima. This concrete construction you see on the left is going to be called the Church of the Holy Trinity. That's right. Right hand side comes the center of Pope Paul VI. This is mainly your left. On your left you have the Church of the Holy Trinity. And look on the left. From this corner, Pedro will go slowly for you to see. You see the big map, because the ground was...
As vossas velas. O Senhor esteja convosco. Oremos. Ó Deus, vós que sois o da luz e nos destes em Jesus Cristo a graça de vencermos as trevas do pecado, dignai-vos abençoar estas velas que acendemos em vosso nome. E por intercessão da Virgem Maria, que aqui se manifestou revestida da vossa luz, fazei que perseveremos na fé, até que um dia, quando o Senhor vier, possamos ir ao seu encontro com todos os santos no reino dos céus. Por nosso Senhor Jesus Cristo, vosso Filho, que é Deus convosco, na unidade do Espírito Santo. Amém. Na Basílica, ao lado dos restos mortais de sua prima, a Beata Jacinta Marto. Lúcia era uma apaixonada da reza do terço ou rosário. Vamos rezar.
Amen.
messing up the candles. Maybe not.
Visit the house where Jacinta and Francisco were born. I want to remind you that this morning you are allowed to take pictures all over, okay? So no problem in taking pictures. So if you will be ready, we are going to get off the bus. And we are very close to the house of Jacinta and Francisco. And as I was saying, even though being brother and sister, they were very, very different one to the other. Francisco was a very shy boy. He was very, Francisco, we know you didn't well. I've been here, so why don't you answer? And he would go like this. And he would say, what are you thinking about? Nothing, I'm just thinking. And Francisco was a boy of contemplative life. And no wonder that later on, when we will be doing the very first, I will tell you more details, and Professor Ortiz surely will as well, about their lives. And we are going to understand much better the reason why Francisco had such a great love, a very special love for Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, Jesus in the Eucharist. And he really, really loved to spend hours and hours and hours in adoration inside the parish church. So he was indeed a boy of very few words. Sometimes people come and pilgrims ask, Gloria, but we see that Francisco is wearing a crutch. I say, this is not a crutch. He was a shepherd. And you know that shepherds usually walk with the help of CSS. She was bossy when they were playing. For some reason, she was not winning. She wanted to start everything from the beginning. She wanted to say the rules for the plays, the rules for the games. I used to say that I'm sure Jacinta would be the perfect tour guide, right? Telling the others what to do. But indeed, this little girl that was so little and just aged 7 years old, she was very, 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 very strong. And Jacinta got tremendously impressed when they saw the vision of the fire. And she said that this really impressed her so much, afraid of dying, that they would definitely change their minds and their way of living. And she always said she would do the best she could to save souls from falling into those same fires of hell. Portugal, and including children who are the first ones catching this kind of diseases. And you know, we are in the countryside, real room. They saw the Virgin Mary in that room. Okay? So they saw the Virgin in Lisbon. Jacinta saw the Virgin Mary again by and back.
little shepherds to an apostolic life, an active life. She was behind people, reminding them to convert themselves, and she even had in some instances the power of the Holy Spirit so as to point out the defects or major sins of that person so that they will go to confession before it was too late. She even tells some of them the sins that they have committed in private so that they will have their hearts moved to convert themselves. So we will say that her main call was to try to convert sinners. On the other hand, Francisco was called to meditation, to a life of participating in the mystery of Christ in such a way that his prayer was in the beginning the worst of the three in the beginning, but at the end probably it was the most mystical and the best in the way that he reflected an intimate participation in the mystery of Christ. Before them, the church thought that children could not be saints because they didn't have the power of reasoning. But they proved that this is not true. See? So children and young people are called to sainthood too. Remember the Lord in the days of your youth.
Yeah.
Speak a little more about her life, and we are going to transfer her on the 19th because on the 20th of February we celebrate the anniversary of the death of Jacinta and then the date of the feast in honor to the little shepherds in Portugal. So February the 20th. Little room with 2 twin beds that used to be for the boys. In the past, you will see on the kitchen there's a little stairway going upstairs that is closed to the public nowadays, but in the past all these houses used to have a room, how do you call an attic? On the roof where more boys used to sleep, okay? So you can take your pictures as it will be done. And I'm sure you know about this, but the mother of Jacinta and Francisco, here you have the parents, Jacinta and Francisco, and you see that there are elder brothers, and they are too old comparing to Jacinta and Francisco, because the mother married twice. The first time she married, she had some children.
Yeah, the father. He immediately believed in father.
See the coats?
But she was telling me that he's not here today because he was too tired, so he stood a little longer resting in bed, and she came to replace him.
E casados há 56 anos.
And they've been married for 56 years.
Wow, this is quite amazing. Quite amazing.
Oh, they're dirty buggers, aren't they? Yeah. Oh, I hope in heaven you're cleaned up. Hi! How are you?
Brian bought it in 1996.
In 96 they bought it.
Yes.
Okay.
The homes of Jacinta, Francisco, and Lucia are nowadays property of the Shrine of Fatima. Lucia, after a while, Lucia was the only direct inheritor of the home of her parents because she had no more living brother or sisters. And so, well, there were then nephews and nieces, but she was the direct inheritor of the house, and she decided to give the house, with the permission of the family, to the Shrine of Fatima. In the case of the family of Jacinta and Francisco, things were a little harder, because in between nephews, nieces, great-grandnephews and nieces, there were something, I heard like 28 or 29, and that was kind of, I can use this expression, than the family of Jacinta and Francisco, for a very simple reason. They were less in number, but that was not the reason. We had several women in the family of Lucia. If you look on the pictures on that side, the picture you see on top shows us the mother sitting. On the right hand side of the mother, there is a little girl who is Lucia, and in the back you see some of the sisters of Lucia. The only brother she had in this family, they were all girls and only one boy. There's another sister missing there. One of them is holding a little baby who is a niece of Lucia at the time. But the reason why they were a little wealthier, first of all, they had a little plot of land in the back of the house. This area is a very dry area. We are away from rivers as well. And even nowadays, in summertime, this is a very dry area, and every once in a while we have problems with drought here. So it's true, they would step on
They
their
didn't
toes.
have any economical basis to sustain the family.
It's true.
They were close to bankruptcy.
Oh yes, they went through very hard times. And Lucia's room, which is the one you would come through the window, and they would like break the glasses, and they would try to pass terrible. So terrible that in the meantime the father of Lucia died as well, because he died in the year of 1919, so her mother was a widow, and she so desperately looked for help next to the parish priest. Remind you is that Lucia stood joining the order of the Sisters of Saint Dorothy, and after a while, in the year of 1946, Lucia started feeling inside her heart the desire of following a life of the cloister, of meditation and of prayer. For this, she had to ask for a special permission from the Holy Father to change from one order to another, and this is the reason why in the year of 1948 Lucia got the permission from Pope Pius XII, and she came back to Portugal, and she entered the Carmel of Saint Teresa in the city of Coimbra. Coimbra is north, also north, in between Porto, where she entered to the school of Vilar, and Fatima, just 1 hour north from here, and she joined the Carmelite order, and she entered the convent of Saint Teresa in Coimbra, where she passed away last year. We are about to celebrate the anniversary of the death of Lucia, and on the next February the 19th, we are going to bring the remainings of the body of Lucia, who we so far buried in the yard of the Carmel convent of Saint Teresa in Coimbra, to the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima. This is what explains the fact, obviously, that when you look into these different pictures, you see Lucia wearing the habit of the Dorothean sisters, and here you see Lucia addressing the habit of the Carmelite order. Since Lucia left Spain, she came to Fatima in 1946, then she entered the Carmelite order in 1948, and after that she came to visit Fatima in 1967, when Pope Paul VI honored us with his visiting, and she came back again in 1982, in 1991, and on May the 13th of 2000, during the 3 visitings of the Holy Father John Paul II, the last time she came with a special purpose of attending the celebration of the beatification of Jacinta and Francisco. And before I give the word to Professor Ortiz, I just would like to tell you one very last curiosity about this. When Lucia visited Fatima the last time in 2000, she came on the night of the 12th of May to be here for the high procession and rosary, and then she spent the 13th here. And she spent the night in a Carmelite convent that we have also here in Fatima, not too far away, also in the back of the Basilica, not too far from the Domus Patris house. And while she was there, she asked permission from the period to come and see the house where she was born. Because she said, at this age, I don't know how long am I still going to live, and I would not like to die without seeing again the house where I was born. Because in 1982 and 1991, when she came to Fatima for the visitings of the Holy Father John Paul II, she did not get the chance of coming to visit the house. So on the morning of May the 13th, very early in the morning, even before the celebrations and everything started down in the shrine, Lucia came here. And obviously, as Lucia walked this street, among the elderly people of Aljustrel, there are many of them that are still late cousins to Lucia, because, you know, in the countryside, all the neighbors are related by blood ties, right? And besides, there are people that still are contemporary to Lucia, that were shepherds like Lucia, that remember playing with her, and so on. So we gathered a big crowd of people here, and Lucia, among many other things, she is well known for having a great sense of humor. She lived in the joy of the Lord, so obviously she was a very happy person. And she stepped inside the house, and the first thing she said, "Oh, you changed the place of the furniture." She still remembered the right way they had everything displayed here. So I'm going to leave you with Professor Ortiz now.
I just would like to say that on the 13th of October of 1917, at the last apparition of Our Lady here in the Cova de Ria, you will remember that at the end, the children saw several continuous apparitions, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Our Lady of Sorrows, an image of Jesus which was described by Lucia without the name of the devotion, but that according to the details in the description of this apparition, for me, it resembles Jesus of the Divine Mercy. Yes, okay. And then the Sacred Family, etc. Well, academics and studiers of the message of Fatima have wondered why this happened. And the explanations are, number one, because this is like a catalog of all the major devotions of the Catholic tradition, you see. This is like the major devotions that can lead to salvation to many souls. Our Lady of Sorrows, the Sacred Family, Saint Joseph, Our Lady of Mount Carmel. But at the same time, these are the same devotions that were present at the parish church of Aljustrel for Lucia as a little child. Those were the devotions of her childhood. But at the same time, third explanation, those are the devotions that led Lucia in her life, including Our Lady of Mount Carmel to become a Carmelite and accept for her the Carmelite spirituality. So this is very good to know that there was a purpose behind these visions, a threefold purpose, you see. The one that had to do with the major devotions of the Catholic Church that can lead to many salvations, to many souls being redeemed. Secondly, they were, in the human aspect, they were the devotions of the childhood of Sister Lucy. And also, thirdly, they pointed out to the different stages of Sister Lucy in her own life, and to what devotions she would grasp at those stages, you see. And at the end it was Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Yeah. From that well.
You can drink it, huh?
Yes, we did, and I did that.
The shorty slept in there.
Yeah, right. Top.
There it says a spring.
Well, that's where the angel appeared.
Yeah. I didn't hear anything about the well. I just they said we were walking down here to a spring.
Maybe you missed it. You missed the first part of it.
It's locked up. And the angel invited them to stop playing, to start praying. Okay?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? That's what he said.
Don't lose your time, you know?
That's right. That's right. We understand the apparitions of the angel because the angel never told the children that they were going to have a special sign from heaven or that they were going to be granted a special grace of seeing the Virgin Mary. No, 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 no. But we understand, and Professor Ortiz is going to speak to you about this much better than I surely can do, but we understand the apparitions of the angel as being a way of preparing the children from the spiritual point of view to open their hearts to welcome the message of Our Lady. As the angel insisted a lot on prayer, he asked and asked their attention to the importance of praying for the conversion of poor sinners and of offering sacrifices to the Most High. One time in the first apparition, in the first apparition of the angel, when the angel asked them to offer sacrifices to the Most High, Lucia said, "But how are we to make sacrifices?" And the angel said, "Do anything you can as a sacrifice and offer it to the Most High." Okay?
Yes. Well, the angel of Fatima is the catechist that prepared the children to receive the message of Fatima. So we would say, he introduced them to the mystery of God. The first thing that they felt from the angel was that he was close to God, that he brought them the presence of God. This is why after the angel left of God. This is why after the angel left in every apparition, they felt exhausted, completely tired. They need several hours to recover themselves. And this was not like that when Our Lady appeared to them. There is an explanation. The angel serves God in front of the throne of God, so he brings with him his own nature, which is different from ours. We are human beings. An angel is a different kind of creature. So for the children to keep at the same pace of the angel, it was impossible. He was so much intense adoring God that they felt exhausted. In the meanwhile, when Our Lady appeared, they felt joy, they felt the motivation to transmit that joy to others. They felt like if they had a mission to transmit to everyone the message that she has given them. The explanation here is not that she is not as close to God as the angel. On the contrary, she is closer to God. In fact, coming from her Immaculate Heart, the light that came from there was God Himself, and they were submerged into the mystery of God by receiving the light coming from the Immaculate Heart of Mary. But since Mary is a woman, she's human, instead of exhausting them, instead of tiring them almost to death, they receive the joy and the presence of Mary. And this is because we will never lose our identity, our personality, in eternity. We will be always ourselves, but perfected, made into the image of God. And this is how Mary projected herself. She was the servant of God. She was a good housewife. She was a good neighbor. She was always thinking on the necessities of others. She had solidarity with the oppressed, with the poor people. So what they felt? The personality of Mary. They felt Mary herself giving to them the joy and the motivation to express themselves to others. And this is why there are these changes, these differences between the apparitions of the angel and the apparitions of Our Lady. Here, the first thing that the angel did was to teach them how to pray, because that's the first thing that they would need to encounter Our Lady and receive the message from God. How to pray. You know that they used to pray, Our Father, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary. They will end the rosary in 1 minute, and they will start laughing and dancing. You know that Francisco had a flute, and Jacinta used to dance as well as Lucia, and they also played a note. So they were ready to play as they were natural children. But the angel taught them the profundity of the prayer of meditation, the prayer of reparation, which was what changed their lives. And this was their school of sanctity. This was their school of holiness. You know, when they learned how to pray, how to communicate with God, how to feel the presence of God and contemplate the mysteries of faith. And this changed their lives. Secondly, here they received the message of how to bear the cross. You see, he was a catechist. The angel of Fatima taught them the way to become good Christians. The second lesson, you would say, would be how to bear the cross, how to accept suffering, how to accept the will of God, because this is the way, the most important way of penance, to convert sinners and to change the course of history by doing penance. This we will see again at the third mystery of, the third part of the secret of Fatima, what they call the secret, the third secret, you see. Penance, penance, penance. This was taught here, just in this spot. See? If you want to convert sinners, you have to do the most important penance that is available. That is to accept God's will, the fiat of Our Lady. Yes, I am the humble servant of the Lord. And second, you have to accept the sufferings that our Lord sent you. And this is against the new liberal theologians that preach that God never sends sufferings. No way. It is because of our sins that we receive those sufferings. It is the consequences of evil in the world, of original sin. But don't forget that the good Lord sends us sometimes trials so that we will be able to participate in the passion and death of our Lord Jesus Christ, and that He also permits sometimes that evil has some kind of hurting of ourselves, because in this way we will participate in Jesus Christ's passion and death. So if we want to become disciples, we cannot be more than the Master. We have to follow the Master, and the Master suffered a lot. So we also have to share our own part and bear our cross to become the good disciples of the Lord, to become the beloved disciples of the Lord. So this was the second lesson, the value of penance to convert sinners, to save souls. to change the course of history. And then the final one that we will see later would be the Eucharistic adoration, made possible by the apparition of the angel in a moment where children were not permitted to receive Holy Communion, that it was inconceivable to receive communion under the two species. The children received the mystical communion from the angel under the two species, and also before they could ever receive it in the church. But it is said that the Holy Father, after after what happened here in Fatima, it was hastened the changing of the regulations for first communion to children, because it made possible that children could come to the altar and receive the Blessed Sacrament. And well, that third apparition of the angel really gave them the strength to resist many of the sufferings that they will encounter in their lives. And they really understood from that moment on that they had to have an inner life. You see, we are always speaking about what are we going to do. What we do is seen by others in the exterior. This is our exterior life. What we must cultivate, the most important part of life, which is the inner life, the life in our inner soul. We have to be the friends of God. We have to cultivate that friendship, and as Saint Augustine teach, there is a presence of God in our heart, which is the one that really guides our life. And that intimate friendship with God is what makes saints. All the other is extra, is an additional. But the essence is the inner life that we might develop. So we can say that the angel of Fatima, the great catechist of Fatima, taught the children how to develop an inner life in three ways: by prayer, meditative prayer, prayer of adoration and reparation; by penance, by accepting God's will, the fiat of Our Lady; and also by the adoration and the appreciation of the Blessed Sacrament as the center of Christian life. So he really did a marvelous job, and when Our Lady came, they were prepared.
Yes. Lucia said to the angel, what are the sacrifices? He said, make of everything you can a sacrifice.
Yes.
Now, does that mean, in terms of sacrifice, that a little suffering, a little self-denial, does it mean doing God's will in everything you do? Should everything that we are doing through the day, doing our job, our duties, those are sacrifices too, right?
Yes, Father.
Then sacrifices are little acts of self-denial.
Yes.
And then accepting the cross. So there's actually three little aspects. Is
Correct,
that correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure.
You have sacrifices when you have a joyful moment, but you offer that to God, although it is joy, completely joyful, or it is offered. But then comes trials, sufferings, self-denials, charities, like for example giving everything to the other children that they had for lunch. They even offered to be without drinking water for many hours in this hot sun, which is one of the greatest sacrifices in the whole history of the lives of the saints. You cannot encounter such a big sacrifice like, being 8, 9, 10, 12 hours without water, see, thirsty, and offering God. As you heard Father Condor, he mentioned it at the Condor that when the things of Sister Lucia were taken at her room after she died, they found there a cult. Yeah. The meaning of that, the rope that the three children used to offer to God such a sacrifice. Now comes the educational process of Our Lady. She advised them not to use it all day long because that's the opposite of what God wills, you see. The virtue is the middle between the extremes. It is the balance. You cannot